may forget your names in time, but I will never forget your introduction. All right, wow. Thanks for all showing up to listen. Even though some of you had to, I guess. So, yeah. A few weeks ago, my friend Rosanna down here gave a really phenomenal poetry reading, and she started off her banter by talking about how she was actually like super nervous being up here, and so I was a little disappointed when she said that because it meant that I couldn't just copy her and say the same thing.
Sorry.
But I'm going to copy her and say the same thing. So, as Rosanna said, I also am very nervous. But here we go. So this first poem is called Resurrection. His was the poetry of coffee houses, years made only of eyes and measured by the strides of a French girl's moccasins, leaving uncontested for Amsterdam. The words appeared to the man's mind in guises of motley local militias, ragtag in line in impromptu parade, never crisp like the bite of tamarind, viscous like the lazy descent of honey, and he periodically considered the worth of a questionless voice, a language never made grimy with risks and uncertainties. So he built for himself a schema, peppering words with rust and salt until he thought he felt texture, never knowing that worth of words lies in what they enact, that all his toil, all his frantic scuffing and burning could never hold as much bitter meaning as calloused hands, cracked and seeping blood from the cold of Minnesota winter, a single bird-boned old man struggling to close a thick oak door, pulling off flannel and coaxing a fireplace into life, staring through the flames, waiting. Let's see. This next one is titled after and inspired by a phrase that I overheard in a class a few weeks ago, or a few months ago now, actually. It was a few weeks ago when I started writing a poem, so I'm like stuck in that time, apparently. This is called Everything is Like Schrodinger's Cat. My father told me about the Formica ants erecting a hill over the sidewalk fissure that he and his brothers piously stepped across each morning in Newark, Ohio in 1964 as they began their walk to school. They greeted ants as friends, Catholic object lessons, that ye study to be quiet and to do your own business and to work with your own hands. My father also described the pale elderly neighbor who emerged each morning from the unknown depths of the next house over, oak door rasping like a tomb, suburban Lazarus in patchy fur slippers. The man blinked at the dawn, stooped to collect the Advocate, gleefully trotted to the sidewalk, and rejoiced each morning in stomping the ants into the rough surface, pressure of his thin soles grinding chitinous bodies and heads into finely smeared powder, blended with remnants of the sandy mound. The Formica ant is so named because of its ability to secrete formic acid, generated by an internal venom gland out of an acetopore on the tip of its abdomen. Formic acid is ejected through the acetopore with great force, attaining an effective range of up to several feet. The acid was first identified in 1671 by the English naturalist John Ray, who ground ant bodies in a mortar and pestle and distilled them to isolate the chemical. My father's oldest brother, Andy, died at 16 from an intracranial aneurysm. He returned from basketball practice mentioning an ache, dull, tucked deep inside his skull, and went to bed and was dead in the morning, victim of the berry-sized ballooning of some artery next to his optic nerve, a sudden pop and torrent of blood saturating his brain. His brothers have never told me who found him, who collapsed onto practiced knees before his prone altar, grasped at the possibility of a wooden bedpost, and prayed not to have seen. All right, this next one is called Cyclone Elegy. Dying alone in a tornado is worse than dying alone. Cloud embers char the horizon, lightning ionizing air into plasma as you stand under half-lights drained down howl and watch shingles rip like scabs from wounds. Except there is no tornado, only the wounds, only the memory capturing overexposure to the elements of grief, gusts and gales of words, ink spiral ripped by my pen on the corner of this tattered sheaf of paper on which I've composed your elegy. Because you did not die by means of tornado, dramatic wind whipping. You did not die for beauty or for truth. You died, and no twisted and buckled, broken branch words, born into air and deposited naked on beaten grass, no chasing after your dark storm can erase the sorrow of its landfall. All right, those were dark. Let's cheer up a little bit. This next one is a prose poem that is sort of inspired by my experiences applying for grad schools, but hopefully also applies to other extremely stressful times in these people's lives. This is called to apply oneself. Imagine you're staring at a really expensive jigsaw puzzle, or rather at a whole row of them, but all the pieces are mixed together into one radically disordered pile, and the edges of the puzzles are already filled in. So all you have is this mass of disjointed centerpieces, and a lot of the pieces are almost identical, but most of them aren't interchangeable between puzzles, but a few might be. And some pieces are missing, and you have to cut them out yourself out of a big piece of unwieldy, thick cardboard. And all you have is a dull pair of child's safety scissors coated in a layer of fluorescent green plastic. And other pieces are missing you can't cut out yourself, even though you know how they're supposed to look. And you have to order these special pieces from someplace far away. And these pieces are massively expensive, even though they're still only pieces of that same cheap cardboard. And also, there's an enormous brown bear standing on its hind legs behind you, absolutely towering over your shoulder. And if you don't continually dedicate your days and your nights to these puzzles, it will lift a massive paw and press, just press, gradually digging into the place where your shoulder becomes your neck, harder and harder and harder. And as it presses, it will repeatedly whisper in your mouth with its muffled, abrasive bear voice that it would be more than happy to ease the pressure, to dig its claw out of your flesh if only you would just finish the puzzles. Hurry up and finish the puzzles. Keep going. Hurry up. There are important blood vessels in your neck, you know, and those long claws are perilously close. So yeah, that's that. Let's see. Yeah, we'll try this. This one is, I'm probably going to butcher some French in this one, so that should be a fun time. But I'm going to do my best. This is, actually this one also features a French girl, just as the previous one did. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. There must probably be a story behind that, I don't know. This is called Que savons-nous, which is, what do we know in French? We know crumpled leaves that fall from alder boughs in their season, the slow spin of dying things shaken from their homes and emptied into the world. We are familiar with 2 sticks of wood obtained from a backyard forest and arranged perpendicularly with the aid of a fistful of rough brown twine to form a passable replica of the cross for use in homespun liturgies. We've memorized a long catechism of magic calls and responses, which, followed by a languid stare into open eyes, is bound to make 2 people fall in love. The skylark sings for us, a gentle alouette toward the rising sun, and its plucked feathers may be used for various spiritual purposes or for the fletching of arrows. All around us shimmers the vibrating scandal of streetlight and jaguar roar and icy air that make up this world of blue sea and concrete, prairie and suburb and desert oasis, and we know ultimately that all our knowledge shudders itself to the ground in its own cacophony. But even in all of this, we're certain of one thing. We know the bronze tint of twilight on the cheek of a certain young woman in Strasbourg as she walks south in the Jardin des Deux Rives along the west bank of the Rhine. All right, let's see. I'll do a couple more, I guess. They're both short, so I won't take too much of your time. This one is called Ecosexual, and it's about something called objectophilia, which is sexual attraction to inanimate objects. So, anyway, a particular one in particular. Ecosexual. Necks were never long enough for me, skin never finely grained enough to plane with fingers' slow touch. Give me instead the trees, the years of roots thickened with siphoning life from hidden stores. What empty pledge is given in stripping thin clothes, unlatching hooks and buttons? If intimacy is painful, then let me tear bark from trunk, exposing what is harmed by revelation. After dark, in forests alone, we instruct each other. I tap the knots gently, delving for hardwood. I listen to the shivered whisper of leaves above my head. Together, we learn how we sap each other. All right, and last one. You can laugh at that, it's okay. It's pretty ridiculous. This is one that I've been kind of obsessed with for a while. It's called Regina, and it's named after the woman who was engaged to Soren Kierkegaard, the philosopher, for a while. And it's gone through a lot of little changes here and there. It's moved back around to being how I originally wrote it, and it's a weird thing. But anyway, it's in progress. Regina. If invisible, float blind, photon-pierced, susceptible to light. Incandesce. Consider a tongue glimmering like flame, a precipice traced by igneous lips. Upon reflection, dive, emerge with gold lungs, seared caverns, excavate and rebury, and fleshed, repetition is possible.